We are about to start our very enlightening panel discussion on BRICS, new figures at the global chessboard. And we know this is not not unknown to everybody that for many years the world has been fragmented into parts in control of just a few global players. Multilateralism had been gaining momentum with time, and it eventually reached the point of development when the world majority became capable of raising its voice. Pluralism is now an indispensable factor of world politics. It manifests itself in many dimensions. While BRICS appeared to be one of the major platforms that shaped the globe towards multipolarity and rebuilt the chessboards to thoroughly illustrate the new reality. The expansion of the grouping in January 2024 demonstrates that the number of players committed to making the game more representative and just continues to grow. All of the BRICS states share a common vision of international dialogue where everyone is involved, respected, and treated as equal. This is key. Those are our basic principles. With the expansion of BRICS, there are ever more opportunities for us to make the international setting more equitable and more fair, to define the rules and potential outcomes of the game to ensure a better future for the whole of humanity. The new global chessboard should translate into promoting the principles of protecting national sovereignty, non-intervention in domestic affairs, finding new approaches to enhancing global governance institutions, because we see lots of them as stumbling, and outlining common objectives for the world majority. You all see the questions for the discussion that we have here, and we have already a very enlightening welcoming speech by Professor Nikonov earlier in the previous session, and now I would like to ask him to set the scene for us and to offer deep answers to the questions offered for the discussion in the session. Dr. Nikonov.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure about the deepness. I want to dwell on one of the issues raised for that panel. And that's the issue of values. What runs the world? Wealth? Power? Military force? Ideas? Yes, they do. They do move the world. But there is something deeper. Ask yourself, whose names billions of people mention every day without even realizing that? Those are the names of Confucius, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. They're about values. And that is something which is basic and which is really underlying everything which happens in the world. Yes, the West pretend they set the values. In fact, they managed to dominate the world by force of arms, not by their values. They added this values slogan. And they added it not so long ago, actually. Democracy, human rights as common European values, they were initiated actually in the late 40s, mostly by the United States, because they were forming an alliance with the countries, all of which were Nazi just a few years ago. Every country in the European Union, one way or another, was either part of Nazi Germany or ally of Nazi Germany or with Nazi Germany in World War II. And in order to create an alliance of democracies, they invented this whole notion of human rights as something fundamental for the Western civilizations. But we, in our parts of the world, know well that actually the Western values were militarism, chauvinism, racism, colonialism, fascism, Nazism. All these isms were not invented by Russians or Ethiopians or Chinese or South Africans. Those were Western values for centuries. And they were regarded as values for centuries. Being racist was absolutely okay. Being imperialist was great. And in fact, they actually monopolized this idea of values, which I think we should bring back to ourselves. Because the values we share are actually higher than what they call their values. And we should have our value system, which we should follow. First of all, we need some value emancipation. And our value system based on the eternal principles lying underneath our civilizations. What are those values? I addressed that issue one way or another at the previous academic forum, but with the new members and with new ideas, I will present my list of BRICS values, the 10 commandments of BRICS. Number one, it's sovereignty. United States is for sovereignty, but only for itself. If you follow the American politics and American ideology, it's sovereignty for the United States of America, and that's it. The other countries do not have right to have sovereign policies, sovereign decisions. American vessels, which are American allies, they're not sovereign at all. Look at today's Europe. Look at today's Germany. Germany, a great country. They don't even have the right to ask who blew up the Nord Stream 2, which belonged to Germany. They don't have this right to ask who did it. They just accept that because their sovereignty is now close to zero. And that's what we can say about almost every single NATO country, except maybe Turkey, which have some hints of sovereignty. All countries represented in BRICS, and all countries which strive to be members of BRICS, they are sovereign centers of power. They are sovereign countries, and they will be sovereign. And they do not lose their sovereignty by being inside BRICS, because BRICS is not taking away anyone's sovereign rights. They accept them, and they build their policies in total recognition of sovereign right of each country. 2, dignity. Respect to yourself and to the others. When you respect yourself, then the others will respect you. When you respect the others, they will respect you. That is something very basic for the human being. The West has a different set of values. They say they are the first world. And then there is second world and the third world. Why on earth they are the first world? Why? First, Adam and Eve, they lived in Africa, actually. First civilizations were in Asia. First man in space was Russian. Why they were first world? And that's because we are not still emancipated from their set of mind. Developed countries, they are developed. We're developing countries, underdeveloped. This is something we still repeat sometimes, but that means we do not respect ourselves. We should have our sense of dignity, not following this pattern. And even, we now try to call ourselves Global South, living north to them. But Russia is not South. Russia is the most northern country on earth and the biggest country on earth. And, we represent not the South, we represent the global majority. And that's we should feel it. We represent the global majority, at least 7/8 of the human race. 3, equality. Equality. All men are equal. Something we can read in the Declaration of Independence of the United States, which was followed by slavery. Slavery was constitutional in the United States for almost a century. The scholars, the genetics now found out that the genetic difference between two human beings living on every corner of the world, whatever, to any human beings, genetically, they're closer to each other than to chimps in one chimp's tribe. We are very close. It's not just, 6 handshakes for everyone in a human being. Genetically, we are the same. And that is something which was rejected for centuries in the system of Western values. We are for equal partnership, and we are equal partners. We are equal in BRICS. Americans do not have equal partners. They don't have a single equal partner. Not even the closest allies like the UK, they're not equal, and they're not regarded as equal. And Americans do not regard anyone as equal, because they think that there is a place which belongs to them, and this is on top of the food chain. And the rest should provide all the goods for the food chain, which go up where Americans are. When you regard everyone as equal, you do not dictate. You try to come to the consensus. You try to work together, as we do in BRICS Academic Forum, working at the joint statement for our leaders. And we respect every single voice. We do not impose our will. If someone rejects something, it will be rejected. If someone says that it should be amended, it will be amended. Because we regard everyone as equal, and the voice of each country as being absolutely important to us. 4, multiplicity. We are the same, but we are different. And this recognition of differences is also very important, because that brings us to respect for cultural, civilizational multiplicity. We take the partners and we respect the partners the way they are, not the way we want them to be. We don't impose our values on someone else, because we respect countries' civilizations which has centuries, sometimes millennia deep historic roots, and their traditions and cultures should be respected. And then that brings us to multipolarity, of course, because this respect for differences brings us to the world in which there are many poles, many centers of decisions, and not just one, two, three. Yeah, great powers matter, but everyone matters in this world. 5, rule of international law. We hear a lot about rule of law, but for some reason we don't hear it recently, because now it's a rules-based order. What is rules-based order? Raise your hand. Have you ever seen any rules on which this order is based? There are no such rules. It is something they decide in Washington, D.C., and the rules are changing every day as they like. And the rules-based order, it's actually a formula of the mafia, because mafia is based on not on law, but on the rules of criminal world. That's how it's organized. It's a rules-based order. It's mafia. And that's not the world we are going to live in. International law means UN Charter. It's a well-worded document, which is worth following, but which is not mentioned because it's really against the so-called rules-based order. Law means also respect of human rights, rights of other nations to have their route of development, right of property, which for so many centuries was proclaimed to be the cornerstone of capitalist system, free world, and so on and so forth. But all of a sudden, they freeze Russian foreign exchange reserves. Just boom. They appropriate the yachts of Russian oligarchs, for God's sake. I'm not for Russian oligarchs and then the yachts, but that's theirs. And there is sacred right of property. Why they do that? Well, because they're Russians. Is it in some law that it's wrong to be a Russian and own a yacht? No, it's just because we decide so. Because that's the rule of the game now. And that is something which I think should not be tolerated. Or respect for international organizations. All right, most of the international organizations are dominated by the West, by the United States. But there are some where they are not sure about their domination, like the World Trade Organization. And that's why it is not operating. Because the Americans would not let the new members of the Court of Arbitration of the WTO because they don't want it to operate. Because Americans are violating whatever rules of WTO, especially in respect to Russia. All their sanctions are absolutely illegal from the point of view of WTO or international law. Because sanction is something which is imposed by the Security Council of the United Nations, and not by some countries, groups of countries. 6, power of the people, rule of the people. They call it democracy. I have nothing against democracy. Democracy is okay. It's a great idea and maybe a great principle, a great legitimizing principle. But that's not something we see in the United States or in many of its allied countries. American democracy is now the possibility to choose between a paranoid and a, schizophrenic. That's not democracy. Democracy, first of all, what Americans call democracy and democracies. America and its allies, they're democracies. If you disagree with the United States somehow, then your democracy is, undeveloped. When you strongly disagree, then you are dictatorship. If you really in disagreement with the United States, then you are a totalitarian country. That's their picture of the world, which has nothing to do with democracy, because democracy is the possibility to conduct your policy domestically or internationally according to the will of your own people. And that's it. Your own people, not the State Department or the CIA. And that's why democracy is when your government is pursuing the will of your people and not follow the lead of someone else. 7, freedom. Freedom for the people to determine their fate. And of course, freedom from American hegemony. That is key, I think. America is not a country of freedom, and many Americans will tell you that. We know that, we see it. Their vassals are not free. And BRICS is an alliance of free countries, countries free from American domination. That's how the world is divided. Countries free from American domination, countries which are not free. We represent the free world, and we should position ourselves as the free world, not them. 8, independence. Independence from the external diktat, independence from colonial or neo-colonial dependencies, independence from transnational corporations which are pumping the wealth from our countries, independence from foreign NGOs which are leading you in the direction opposite to the will of your own people, independence from the colored revolutions organized from outside the world. Of course, non-interference in the domestic affairs of other countries, which happens all the time. 9, justice. Justice, not as a legal term and formal legality, not as a rule of lawyers, as Francis Fukuyama described the United States today. Justice as truth. The wealth of the nations should be determined by the hard labor of its own people and not by the ability to rob the other countries on which the Western primacy is built. Living according to the truth as you see it, as your religion tells you, as your people tell us, representatives of the people, the members of the parliaments, and not according to the rules set by someone else on the other side of the earth. And finally, 10th, accord, consensus. In this world, there are less and less countries, governments, which listen and hear and listen. Americans today, they're just not listening to anybody, I think. Absolutely nobody. Not just us, Russians. Forget about it. They've never been listening to us. But they don't listen to anybody. So BRICS value is an ability to hear and listen and to understand the arguments of the other side. We do hear, we do listen to each other. We know our concerns and we take them into account. It's an ability to come to an accord when there are differences, but it's possible when we do share our values, the values I mentioned. And our final document always is a result of consensus, because we can work together and we can come to common conclusions. So the values are determining the world, they're running the world, they're ruling the world. And if those values are shared by absolute global majority, which we represent, these values will determine the future not just for us, but for the whole world. They'll determine the values of the human race. And for the future for us, future for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
Professor Nikonov, thank you so much for your contribution. I think you were too timid to say that there will be no deepness, but this is a very deep and thorough analysis of what the BRICS is about, what are the key principles, and what are the fundamental values for us. And I think this is important to go ahead with understanding and further discussing where we go based on those very principles of life that present us as a future for the world, and where we can be and we will be shaping this future. Thank you once again. And now I would like to give the floor to our first speaker, Sara Masaetsa, CEO of Human Sciences Research Council. She's a long-time friend of ours. We've been together in BRICS for ages, and she's held a wonderful chairship last year with brilliant results in South Africa, and has always been supportive both for Russia and for BRICS stands, and I'm quite sure that having such people at the helm, we are entitled to success. We have no other way for that. So, Sara, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Victoria. It is a good morning to all of you present here. It was in Cape Town last year, where I think the podium was also on the right. And I looked at my friends in Russia and I said, we stand with you during this difficult time. And I made a commitment that as South Africa and myself personally, that I will see myself in Russia this morning. And I'm here in Russia, again, as part of our BRICS family, pledging solidarity to all of us and to Russia. And let me thank the Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia Federation for the support provided and the opening remarks this morning. And indeed, he's also Russia's BRICS Sherpa, for the support given to Russia and the BRICS think tank to see us here this morning. It's no mean feat to organize something like this, as I realized last year and in 2018 as we led the delegation, South Africa delegation. Let me also thank the representative from the Higher School of Economics, university, for the welcoming remarks as well. As some of you would know, I'm a firm supporter of the social sciences and the humanities, and I know that economics is part of the humanities and social sciences, at least in Russia. My friend Nikonov, pleasure to see you in your home space. And I always thought that when you are in South Africa, you project differently. Now I know that when you are in Russia, you even project even differently. Good to see you here in Russia. Victoria, I might not have time to say this, but thank you and your team for leading us this year. We come a long way. I think 10 years counting, if I'm not mistaken. To my fellow BRICS leaders present here, welcome again to our meetings this year. Let me pay a particular tribute to those who are in the panel who are joining us for the first time. I thank you very much for again expanding the BRICS mandate. I know that Iran is not here, and it's part of what I wanted to say. In half hour they'll be here. They are in the country, but not here. They are in the country. A special condolences on the passing, the tragic passing of His Excellency Raisi and the Foreign Minister, Dr. Hussein Amir Abdullahian. Iran is not just a BRICS member, it's also a very special friend of South Africa. It stood with us, it stands with us as we support the people of Palestine. I'm not going to digress from what I'm supposed to be talking about today, but the people of Palestine, I think, holds the essence of who we are as BRICS. And I was listening to the opening comments about the values of BRICS, and I'll come back to this. I know that there's the 10 commandments. Somehow I have 7 points. 10, 7, I think 7 has a magic number to it. I'm not going to repeat the values as clearly articulated earlier on, but let me speak around what they represent for us, where we are now historically as BRICS, but as the people of this planet. First, I think for us, strength is important, but strength and diversity is even more important. That we stand here as BRICS knowing fully well of our differences, but those differences should be what holds all of us together. It is the difference of opinion, it is the diversity of our cultures, and indeed the diversity of our histories that should make us much more powerful in who we are as BRICS. And I know that this is a big issue in Russia and in how we articulate these histories. And I thought that I should, for the first time, Victoria, talk about the diversity of our civilizations. And coming from me, that's a big one, right? We have many robust discussions during our council meetings, and one of our diversity in thinking is around this concept of civilization. And as I was traveling to Moscow, I thought, you know what, for the first time in the BRICS family, I want to embrace that aspect of how Russia articulates histories. What South Africa talks about histories, Russia talks about it as civilization. And who am I to be talking about strength and diversity if I'm not going to at least even understand and bring myself to understand how Russia articulates the idea of civilization? However, Victoria, as you know, we've had this robust discussion around the notion of the global south. Russia articulates it as a geographical moment. As South Africa, I'm hoping Brazil, Walter, I know that you're new in the family. Part of being new in the family is not to disagree with each other on podium. So, with Brazil, we agree that the notion of the global south is a political one. It's a political one. Let me say this, that as the BRICS think tank, as the BRICS Academic Forum, we're not politicians in this room. At least most of us are not. I know that there are 1 or 2 politicians in the room, but at least as we articulate our work in the BRICS Academic Forum, we're not politicians. However, it will be foolhardy for us not to admit that the work that we do in BRICS is deeply political. And I think we need to embrace that, given the nature of the work that we are doing in in challenging the dominant discourses of the day, the dominant hegemonies of the day that are anti-diversity, that are anti-divergent views. I think for me, I think this is the third point, there is power in what we do as BRICS and who we are as BRICS, both in terms of geographical space that we occupy as BRICS and as we also embrace new members in BRICS, but also in our economic power and the possibilities that power can do to change the landscape, to change that dominant discourse that I was alluding to earlier on. But it remains a possibility if we do not harness it and if we don't change it to real outcomes for the majority of our people in India, in South Africa, in Brazil, in Russia, in China, in Ethiopia, and Iran, and the UAE, and many parts of the world, because I want us to recognize that power, much as we have that power, it is not just to change the world for us as the BRICS family, but also many other parts of the world. I want to speak particularly of the continent that I don't represent. I will not want to claim to represent, but I am a part of. That's the African continent. It is looking to BRICS for an alternative view and vision. For BRICS, as I said, deeply political in the work that we do, but it is also a concept. And I want to clarify this because this is our opening session. That you will find us talking about BRICS and BRICS and BRICS, and more that BRICS does not represent Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. BRICS is a concept, it's a political one, that has a history, and that, unfortunately, sometimes is seen as anti, and we are not anti. We are us as BRICS, wanting a different economic trajectory for the globe, and a new political trajectory that sees all of us as different, not as weaklings, not as beggars, but as equals in the world. Let me also talk about this fourth concept of something that resonated with me from the HSE University opening remarks. That ultimately we are academics, policy experts in this room, and I think what I want us to always hold on to is the notion of innovation and research, the notion of science and education, because I don't want us in 10 years' time and moving forward with the expanded family, to lose the fact that as we engage in our different forums, and especially here in Russia, that we err on the side of pontificating, that what we say should be research-led. Otherwise, our summit and our leaders are not going to take us seriously, and we will forever be lagging behind. We will forever be lagging in terms of the policy advice that we give to our leaders, precisely because it's not research-based. Research for me is important, innovation is important, and we should also be able, after this Russia moment, to also identify areas of partnership and collaboration around research and innovation. And that is our contribution as scholars, BRICSologists. We have made inroads as BRICS academics. I want to challenge all of us as we think about the values and think about the values of forward thinking, new ideas, and be rigorous at that. And for our new family members, I want to say that we are not just talking about this and we have not done it. It is through the BRICS Academic Forum that we now have the new development bank, first articulated by us. We now have the vaccine center. Even before the COVID pandemic hit us. And there are many other initiatives that resonated from us as academics, again, championed by strong research. There are new areas, however, that I want to challenge the 2024 BRICS Academic Forum to think about much more systematically. I'm happy that there's a special session on energy, and from South Africa, I think this is timely, and I would want us to come up with something much more concrete there in relation to also the many challenges around alternative energies, for example. Climate change remains an important area as well, early detection systems, but there's something else that I think as a BRICS collective with our friends that we need to think about much more systematically around climate change. And there's the issue around, I know that some talk about it as food insecurity and food security. I want to challenge us to start thinking about more broadly around the concept of food sovereignty. Not just food security, because food sovereignty also includes issues around value chains and the power base those influence. Indigenous knowledge systems around food insecurity, the use of GMOs, for example, and issues around seed and pesticide anti-competitive behavior. Let me close on two matters. I heard an alarm clock somewhere here. Victoria? Just 2 seconds, 2 minutes. I said I was going to come back to this around the values of BRICS and Forum and Council, and what we need to be thinking about and how we need to be working with each other. And there are two concepts here. The concept of humanitarianism. The concept of humanitarianism. Peace and prosperity will not be realized if some are still marginalized the world over. In South Africa, we talk about Ubuntu. I am because you are. I think it is a powerful concept precisely because it does not start with negating others for you to be whole. It means I exist because you exist, and therefore, if we work together, we are able to achieve something much more powerful that human beings and the human race has never, ever imagined. Let me close again by maybe asking us, from 2024 Russia presidency, for us to adopt a call of action, to adopt the ideas of diversity, the ideas of partnership, the ideas of creating an alternative world that BRICS represents very closely and proudly so. With that, I want again to officially welcome the new members of the family, and thank you very much for having us. I know it's not always kosher to thank those who have worked behind the scenes, the technical people behind sitting there, making sure that we are here, and all the cleaners of this hotel who cook and clean our rooms, making sure that we are comfortable. With that, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. A few words for Dr. Nikonov before.
Sarah, thank you so much. And I can also mention we arrange good weather for you, not just good conditions here. And I should apologize for not adding the major principle to the 10 commandments. We should have 11th commandment, I think. Ubuntu. I am because we are. That is something which South Africa really brings to our family. I'd like to apologize because I'll have to leave. Our Russian friends know that I have a few daily shows on television live, and one of them will start soon, and I promise to cover our session as broadly as possible and bring the heads of the delegations to the live show at Channel 1. So thank you everyone for coming, for being with us, and you should let me go. I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nikonov. And Russian colleagues and probably some of those foreigners in Russia know very well this show. It's always very informative, very deep in thought, and always a great pleasure to listen to what Dr. Nikonov is making there. Sarah, one more notion before I pass on to the next speaker. It's very important and very proper for you to be, that you started this discussion further, because indeed we need to be delving deeper into those concepts. Definitely, Dr. Nikonov was talking about us as being the biggest and most northern country, which is true. 1/3 of us is permafrost if we talk geographically. But even if we don't talk geographically, if we take BRICS in its current shape, but also the countries that applied for BRICS membership, but take also members, citizens of other countries who think constructively and don't want politicized dialogue, don't want geopolitical confrontation, but want better future for them, then we have a world majority by numerical numbers. So we come out with their numerical majority, which also brings this concept very much into the discourse. So just a small note I wanted to give before passing the floor to our next speaker, head of the Brazilian delegation, Mr. Walter Desidero Neto, who works for Institute for Applied Economic Research, IPEA, which has been from the very start a focal point for Brazil. And Walter, you've been here before as well, participating in BRICS forums, and we're very much happy to have you back. 10 years later, right? Oh, no, 9 years later.
Yes.
Yes, and please, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and guests, good morning. I'd like to thank Russia for the organization, the great organization. And I'd like to add, I've been in Rio, I've been typing the rules of BTTC, and I've been here, and you made me sing here in the booth. I wish you can find the video for me. I need the remarkable moment you made us sing, every one of us, to sing a song. Ethiopia, you must know that. You have to sing in the boat, I think, an Ethiopian song, okay?
And dance, because Brazil is great at dancing, so you will be
We
dancing
danced,
this time.
we sang samba and dancing. Well then, I will discuss the core principles of BRICS, so I'll pass fast on this one, as we have already spoke on that. How this coalition supports its values, the promotion of multilateralism amid the current geopolitical turmoil, and how we advocate for the reform of global governance, institutions, and the group after the group's expansion. I will highlight Brazil's perspective within the BRICS, our view on the gains obtained from the expansion. So the BRICS, which were once composed only of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, or even so only of the four, but we have championed several fundamental principles aimed at promoting the goal of a more just and equitable world order. And these principles include, I'll be fast here, mutual respect and understanding, sovereign equality, multilateralism, international law, cultural and people-to-people exchanges, and last but not least, on the contrary, I think the most important one for us, economic and social development. The guiding issue that should guide the group's directions, it focuses on promoting sustainable development, reducing inequalities in the world, and increasing trade, investment, and economic cooperation among our members. This principle aims to promote economic growth that benefits all sectors of society, ensuring that development is inclusive and equitable. It's on the basis on this goal that in Brazil's view, we accept that this coalition may antagonize Western powers in the international system. It's because of our dispute for the fair distribution of wealth in the world. How do we support these values? BRICS supports its core principles and values through several axes of action. We do summits and meetings, regular high-level meetings, such as the annual BRICS summits, where leaders discuss and coordinate policies and initiatives. These meetings provide a platform for member states to address global challenges and explore collaborative solutions. Economic cooperation initiatives such as the New Development Bank, the Contingent Reserve Arrangement support economic stability and development in member states. These financial institutions offer alternative sources of financing, promoting infrastructure development and economic resilience. Cultural exchange. We have programs that promote the cultural exchange and mutual understanding among BRICS societies. These initiatives promote greater appreciation and respect for diverse cultures and civilizations within BRICS, okay? Although we are a multicultural civilization, let's move on. It's okay, Sarah. And we want to increase unity and solidarity. Research and development, I'm with Sarah. We have a collaboration with science and technology and innovation enhances collective growth and development. Joint research projects and technology partnerships help member states to address common challenges and strengthen their economic and scientific capacities. And as BRICS Think Tanks Council, we are always supporting that our recommendations are common research-based, in fact. We hope this is a BTTC value, I would put it that way. Trade and investment, efforts to increase intra-BRICS trade and investment foster economic ties and reduce dependence on traditional Western markets. By enhancing trade relations between member states, BRICS aims to create a more balanced and self-reliant economic bloc. So promoting multilateralism amid geopolitical turmoil. In the current phase of this turmoil, the BRICS should promote multilateralism through several strategies. First, advocating for UN reforms. A comprehensive reform of the United Nations, particularly its Security Council, to make it more democratic and representative of developing countries. This includes advocating for the inclusion of more permanent members from the Global South. Supporting global governance. At the same time, ensuring the central role of the United Nations and its organs in addressing global challenges, such as peace and security, sustainable development, and human rights. BRICS emphasize the need for a rule-based international order, law-based, if you may, where all countries are treated fairly and access to development is guaranteed to all humanity under the efforts of all countries. Coordination of foreign policies. Members frequently align their positions in international forums to present a united front on global issues. This coordinated approach enhances the influence of the BRICS on the global stage and helps shape international policies that reflect the interests of developing nations. Inclusive economic policies. Promotes an open, transparent, and inclusive multilateral trading system as embodied in the World Trade Organization, WTO. BRICS supports the removal of trade barriers and the establishment of fair benefits for all member states. Our countries oppose unilateral sanctions launched by groups of countries in a manner that is inconsequential to the international economy. Our countries resist exorbitant privileges in the international monetary system, in which the issuing nation of the global currency uses this prerogative as a weapon to afflict the economic performance of other nations. BRICS also rejects the controlling of prices within financial markets in which the prices of many of our export products are set. One of our key strategies is to strengthen multilateral institutions. Strengthening means reforming to restore legitimacy. We want these institutions to be more representative of the current global situation and to include more voices from developing countries. By doing so, we hope to make these institutions more effective and legitimate in addressing global issues. And now let's move on to another close strategy, expanding BRICS membership to include more countries with different economic and geopolitical interests, but all with the same goal, a more just and equitable international order with sustainable development. The entry of the new partners helped create a more balanced global power structure and incorporate even more diversity. It also helps to foster a more inclusive dialogue between countries on common challenges and collective interests. Well, I will pass on to the next one, so I have time. Okay. So the new dimensions in global governance reform after expansion. Following our recent expansion and new members, BRICS has introduced new dimensions to its approach to reforming global governance institutions. So geopolitically, we have more representativeness and weight. The expansion of the BRICS is seen as an opportunity to strengthen the balance in global geopolitics, counterbalancing the hegemony of traditional powers. The BRICS does not intend to oppose the G7 or the G20, but rather to propose a new model of global governance that is more representative and democratic, a just order, a fair order. Impetus by example. The expansion of BRICS, as we continue to move forward together, contributes to driving these reforms at the global level, making institutions more representative and inclusive as we show how we interact with each other. Promoting multilateralism. The expansion of the BRICS promotes a more inclusive, democratic, and representative multilateralism. It strengthens multilateral cooperation, promoting the inclusion of more emerging countries in the global decision-making processes, challenging the privileges of traditional powers, and promoting a more balanced world order. The expansion of the BRICS is a renewed platform to intensify economic cooperation among the countries of the Global South, boosting economic dynamism in the region. The expansion strengthens economic and political cooperation among the countries of the Global South, promoting capacity building to pursue development through partnerships that depend on national ownership and autonomy. The inclusion of new members in BRICS offers the opportunity to access new markets, increasing the prospects for trade and investments among all of us. The expansion of BRICS increases our relevance on the international scene, reinforcing our diplomatic and strategic position. The inclusion of new members gives diplomacy more voting power and pressure power. The expansion of BRICS contributes to reducing dependence on institutions dominated by traditional powers, promoting a more balanced and fair order. It reflects the new world reality, where the influence of the G7 is diminished and there is a reorganization of the world order. In short, to finish, BRICS is an essential alliance that promotes fair cooperation, stimulates economic and technological growth, and tackles global problems such as climate change and economic disparity. For Brazil, belonging to BRICS increases our economic opportunities, our international influence, and our international ability to address pressing global issues. As BRICS progresses and develops, it must remain committed to building a more fair and balanced world order. As long as we adhere to this, we will be on the right track. Whenever hunger and poverty are reduced because of our actions, and especially when this results from the redistribution of outrageously concentrated wealth, I'm sure that we'll be for fulfilling our most urgent goal with the whole humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Walter. And indeed, we probably use different terms and we talk differently, but at the same time, we are talking about the same essential things and the same problems that do exist and that we as BRICS need to solve. That said, allow me to give the floor to our next speaker, Dr. Jin Xin, Secretary General of China Council for BRICS Think Tank Council Cooperation, it is significant to know that we started working together during the previous Russia's chairship in 2020, and we had a very constructive and very productive dialogue since then, and it's under your leadership. We are very much heading forward for better future, for progressive future with BRICS. So the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Panova. Distinguished coordinators of BRICS Think Tank Cooperation, colleagues and friends. It gave me great pleasure to visit Russia once again to attend today's academic forum in such time-honored building. It's a lovely building, yeah, in the beautiful city of Moscow. This year's academic forum will surely be a historical meeting. On behalf of China Council for BRICS Think Tank Cooperation and the Chinese delegation, we have a big delegation, yeah, more than 10 participants join us. I wish to welcome new colleagues from other 5 countries to join the BTTC big family. And we look forward to working closely with you. The theme of this year's academic forum is BRICS New Figures as the global chessboard. We deserve the name of new figures. New figures mainly reflect in the following 3 aspects. First, greater political influence. New BRICS members are all influential countries in their regions. The fact that they join the BRICS family not only represent the new trend or the rise of Global South, but also enhances the representation and influence of the BRICS. It has bound to advance a more just and equitable global governance system and promote the representation and voice of the Global South in international affairs. Second, richer development resources. With more development resources and effects brought by new members, all members will have greater complementary advantages in energy, food, manufacturing, and service industry. This will not only be conducive to expand the room for cooperation and help all BRICS countries achieve high quality and sustainable development, but also serve to empower global development cooperation and offer new options for countries of the Global South to engage in international development cooperation. I think BRICS belong to Global South and represent Global South. Third, brighter common values. Unlike some countries who regard social systems and ideology as a foundation for cooperation, BRICS countries have explored a path for countries with different systems to effectively cooperate and have forged common values featuring joint development, common security, and shared prosperity of civilizations. I think this was the value of the BRICS. The accession of new members not only enhance the civilization representation of BRICS countries, but also will lead more countries onto BRICS path of openness, inclusiveness, and win-win cooperation. dear friends. Entering the era of greater BRICS cooperation, BRICS countries need to make great efforts to translate our above-mentioned new strengths into new achievement to cooperation. To this end, we need to do the following. First, we need to adhere to 5 + 5 = 1. Under the guidance of BRICS spirits and values, we need to strengthen solidarity and collaboration, timely coordinate our positions, and take united actions in international and regional hotspot issues. By building a closer partnership, making BRICS' voice louder, and polishing a distinct image of independence, we can expand and realize the common interests of BRICS countries and steer the world into a bright prospect of peace, security, prosperity, and progress. Second, we need to achieve 5 + 5 is greater than 10. BRICS should leverage the complementary advantages and fully utilize the development resources within its member countries. We can dig into the potential for practical cooperation in areas like energy security, digital economy, and green development to foster great space and more favorable conditions for the sustainable and high-quality development of BRICS countries. For instance, in the energy area, on top of the strengths of the old members, the accession of the new members like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Iran, we are bringing more financial and technology to advance energy transition of all members, thus enhancing the BRICS countries' capacity in ensuring energy security. Third, we need to promote 5 + 5 + A. We need to follow the core and momentum of Global South countries seeking strength through unity, expand BRICS partnership network through BRICS Plus cooperation model, and enhance our cooperation with other emerging markets and developing countries with concrete actions. By doing so, we can make the pie of Global South cooperation bigger and promote a more just and equitable global governance system and international order, so that the reality of the changing international landscapes can be better reflected. China highlights, values, and firmly support BRICS cooperation. We stand ready to work with all parties to deepen BRICS strategic partnership, expand practical cooperation in various areas, and make the structure of global governance more balanced and effective, so as to make greater BRICS contribution to world peace and development. Over the past 10+ years, China has put forward the vision of building a human community with a shared future, and has proposed the Belt and Road Initiative, the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative, which have offered guidance for the development of China's BRICS policies. China stands ready to work together with both new and old members to step up cooperation in implementing these major proposals and jointly open up an even more brilliant prospects for BRICS countries. What I'm talking about is the principle and the direction of BRICS. BRICS countries should work this way. Also, I agreed with those values just mentioned by my colleagues. I would like to add 3 key words: openness, inclusiveness, and win-win cooperation. These 3 key words are the spirits of BRICS. So don't forget that. It must add. Dear friends, think tanks are the fore in BRICS cooperation. For 16 years, BRICS think tanks had made important contribution to serving BRICS cooperation and has been highly recognized by BRICS leaders. As we unveil greater BRICS cooperation, we need to embark on a new journey to reinvigorate BRICS think tank cooperation to adapt to new situations, new tasks, and new requirements. I also have 3 suggestions. First, we should further strengthen innovative research and enhance intellectual support. We should always work in front of policies, dare to break the traditional mindsets and think out of the box. We should come up with bold ideas and at the meantime, verify them cautiously and seek truth from facts. Going forward, we need to carry out collective research on some topics, especially some key, difficult, and hot spot issues facing BRICS cooperation to generate more new ideas, theories, and knowledge. Second, we should further strengthen internal exchanges and promote the formation of policy consensus. Just some people mentioned consensus. Yeah. BRICS members countries have diverse culture and different systems and interests. It's normal for us to have differences on some issues. Think tanks should leverage the advantage of expertise and flexibility to fully communicate and discuss the issues that are temporarily unclear, unsure, and unable to have in-depth discussion on the track 1 department. We can help gradually accumulate consensus to eventually realize breakthroughs. Third, we should further overcome obstacles and disturbances and safeguard the international image of BRICS. As BRICS cooperation was born in the era of information technology and globalization, its development is bound to face disturbances from many external facts. In the face of all kinds of external disturbance, the calmness, rationality, and expertise of think tanks is a powerful weapon in the fight against misperceptions and even deliberate sneering. BRICS think tanks and academics has a responsibility and obligation to further boost its well-established credentials and tell the BRICS stories well to international community. the Chinese Council for BRICS think tank cooperation is responsible for coordinating the participation of domestic universities and think tanks in BRICS and BRICS plus think tank cooperation. We have more than 100 members covering all mainstream universities and think tanks in China. We look forward to strengthening exchange and mutual understandings with think tanks of BRICS countries and BRICS plus countries. And we are willing to cooperate with all parties in organizing valuable exchange activities. In closing, I wish this forum a complete success. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Sin, for your presentation. Indeed, also covered all major issues that we need to go through and also added to the fundamental principles of BRICS. And without further ado, allow me to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Jafar Bedru-Gileta, an Executive Director of Institute of Foreign Affairs in Ethiopia, and also our newcomer. And I'd like to thank Dr. Jafar for organizing an extremely interesting, well thought through and well organized joint event that we had for BRICS in order to explain what is BRICS in Ethiopia. I think we had a wonderful 2 days in Addis Ababa, and I hope we would be able to have such meetings further on.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Greetings, distinguished participants, panelists, also the organizers. Thank you also, Ms. Panova, for welcoming us with gracious greetings. As new members, we need and hope for the help and the support of core members, existing members. Thank you once again for your kind words, welcoming words. It gives us a welcoming environment for us as we adapt to integrate into the BRICS collective. Thank you, Excellencies, from the Russian Sherpa, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency also from the State Duma, for their kind words welcoming us. So I will be talking about what kind of multipolarity that we're seeking when we talk about new figures on the global chessboard. And I'll be talking about how we in Ethiopia see the new emerging order that is multipolar. Before that, to set the context, the international order as we know it, it doesn't have a universally agreed and accepted definition as a concept. And there are also different types of, historically, when we see the global politics and in its history, that we see different varieties of orders that have existed. So for the sake of our discussion today, we can define order as a body of rules, norms, and institutions that govern relations among states, but mostly among key players in the international environment. This is obviously, I'm being realistic here. An order is distinguished from chaos or random relationships by some degree of patterns of set of behaviors and structures. It's a set of governing arrangements between states, including its fundamental rules, principles, and institutions. So international order goes beyond such broadly systematic realities to refer to organized configurations. It's not just the laws, the institutions, but it's also behaviors, relationships, the way a state interacts with another one. The version most evident today is an elaborate concept of which the status quo order is. It has been made up, it has established itself as an order in the post-World War II era. Particularly, it cemented itself, positioned itself, as previous speakers have elaborated, the so-called liberal rules-based order, whose rules that we'll see. There are also varieties of orders in the world. There is the Westphalian, there used to be historically the Westphalian order, which is basically a Eurocentric order that did not include even the neighboring country, Russia. China was the center of its own hierarchical and theoretical universal concept of world order. There is also the Islamic version of an order, which held sway with its own version of a single divinely sanctioned governance, uniting and pacifying the world around the concept of the Khalifa. When it comes to the current or the status quo, the challenged world order that is led by the Western world, the so-called quote-unquote rules-based international order, it has been challenged. It has been believed that it's no longer was able to resolve the pressing shared challenges of humanity. There are many factors that challenge the existing order. The emergence of rival systems to the existing order. We can take the BRICS system, the different minilaterals that have emerged as alternative orders that are rival to the existing order, the gradual weakening of the current order that many previous speakers have talked about. We can identify three basically interlinked, interconnected major challenges facing the current international order. The first one is the problem of legitimacy. For a system based on rules to have effect, these rules must be visibly observed by their principal and most powerful advocates. We know, as His Excellency from the Duma has elaborated, there are legitimacy crises on the existing world order, that the most prominent advocates of that order, they don't allow those rights to be exercised by others. For example, the idea of sovereignty. Sovereignty to whom? Equality. Equality to whom? There is also the problem of equity. Rules-based order must work to the advantage of the majority, not the minority. Under the current existing or the withering, the status quo rules-based order is not working in such a way. It's not working for the majority, which is the global south, whether you take it as a political space or geographic labeling, but it's not working for the majority. There is a growing resentment towards that. There is also the problem of confidence. The longevity of the current international system must have led to the assumption that it was in some ways the natural order of things, requiring only occasional repairs and defense against particular challenge. This has bred complacency to its opponents, the rising emerging powers. The West's refusal to accept that it has such an agenda makes its liberal policies appear all the more sinister. For many governments, the Western agenda has truly become an existential threat as they advocate different interventionist policies. Second, why and how is the current international order has been challenged? There is a fierce independence, assertion of uniqueness and willpower for autonomy, characterizing indigenous expressions and spilled over into the global public square, creating greater diversity and cross-cutting tensions that we observe all around us. Countervailing force fields now ripple through global forums and international institutions, issues and challenges, defining a new, evolving, demanding a new global order. There is also tension between the West and the rest that are central and significant that involves many countries. The current world order also could not have come at the wrong time, as we face systemic polycrisis, as some have called it. The advent of climate emergency, global pandemics, as we have seen it in the COVID-19 pandemics, the war in Ukraine, expanding US-China tensions in South China Sea and in many different geopolitical spaces, rising global inflation, major food and energy crisis, debt distress to so many countries in the global south, and a new Cold War has emerged. Great technological advances have also brought major shifts in power structures, distribution of the world as a major economic and military players engage in geostrategic competition. Growing strategic rivalry, as it has been stated, the UN's ability to address this and other threats to peace has been declining as an organization, as the organization becomes consumed by growing acrimony among great powers. Cooperation on a host of critical global challenges and common security concerns seems to suffer. Areas of nuclear proliferation, transnational terrorism, public health hazards, such as pandemics, cooperating on preventing pandemics, the interactive effects of climate change, resource scarcity, and environmental degradation. We can identify futures of the new international order. First, the newly evolving international order will not reflect the underlying internal order of the leading country. What does that mean? It means the emerging international order in its very structures shows no sign of leading powers capable of acting unilaterally as it used to before 2008 and before that, after the end of the Cold War, the so-called unipolar moment, as a dominant military and economic force. Second, the disintegration of international institutions brings new possibilities for alliances. The absence of the West's power monopoly in the international politics will not only cause a change in leadership, but a revision of global institutions and rules. We can see the significance of the BRICS emerging as an alternative source of organizing the international politics. The Global South's interest will be a critical geopolitical factor in the years to come. We see geopolitical competition in Africa and in areas of the Middle East and Southeast Asia and South America. No single great power, as I have stated, will be resourceful enough to use its foreign policy as a tool to influence other countries, particularly with the emergence of middle powers. The transition to a new order has increased turbulences, as I have stated, in the polycrisis, strifes, as well as the lack of stability and struggle between different patterns of the new order. The emergence of polycentric order seems to be the coming age. In this age of crisis, disorder and global transition of power, we are moving into a multipolar world order with multiple great powers and regional powers vying for the space. It's not all bad there are benefits to this power transition. Advanced organized system, it advances an organized system and frameworks for unprecedented international cooperation and diplomacy based on internationally accepted principles, the UN Charter, principles and norms in the conduct of diplomacy. We can see also the significance of BRICS here. It advances economic developments. It creates new opportunities for cooperation, partnerships, technological innovations, advancements, and global connectivity. There are also dangers to this emerging power transition. Powerful states and global superpowers could exploit, they have been seen exploiting, that violates the rules and they try to dominate the system. Multilateral global order or multilateralism continues to face an existential crisis. Mainly I'm referring here the UN system, or an overarching crisis of the deficit in the global governance system continues. Africa is still deeply marginalized in this emerging competitive geopolitical space in the current multilateral global order, both politically, economically, and geopolitically. Despite the urgent need for collective multilateral action for tackling growing climate emergency, the poly crisis, global food crisis, the current global order is largely ineffective, seems disorderly, and mostly rhetorical. What role? In conclusion, what role for the BRICS in the changing order, the coming polycentric, poly-crisis world? What type of multipolarity that we need? What kind of multipolarity is good enough for the emerging world order? We can identify two types of multipolarities. The first one is disintegrated multipolarity, where different centers of power and wealth are disconnected and compete for dominance of the system, which is the negative one. The other one is a positive, integrative multipolarity that we advocate for, where power centers are connected, that they have a mutually respecting relationship, that the interconnection includes the expansion of existing multilateral decision-making bodies, such as a reformed permanent membership at the UN Security Council. Expansion of multilateral development banks. We have an IMF now. What we need is many more development financing banks. We have New Development Bank and others. We need more of those that connect different centers of power and regions. And instead of decoupling the expansion of an international market to realize global prosperity for all. In order to realize this positive multipolarity, we suggest BRICS must play a significant role in reshaping the global order by promoting South-South cooperation, multilateralism, and a more equitable and sustainable global order. BRICS countries must promote South-South cooperation, which is one means of reducing the dependence of the global South on the global, I'm referring here the West, in return to pursue their own development agendas and their own economic policies and paths. BRICS must strengthen established financial systems, such as the New Development Bank and the Contingency Reserve Arrangement. This is a remedy to the existing unfair, unequal global financial systems. Mostly they are weaponized for geopolitical reasons. So we need to make them more fair. So this remedies to the unfair global financial system that operate under the dominance of legacy powers. BRICS countries must promote multilateralism and a just and international order based on the principles of the United Nations Charter, which emphasizes the sovereignty and equality of all nations, non-interferences in the internal matters of the state, and mutual respect. Through this, BRICS can promote a more equitable international order, integrated multilateralism that can credibly supplement the older and the dying unipolar order. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jafar. Indeed, I think definitely together we'll work out on the rules and not rules, rather new laws and new arrangements of the fairer world order. And together we can do it in order to ensure the prosperity and well-being of the majority of countries, or better, all countries. We are not exclusive, we are inclusive. I want to be inclusive not only with regards to welcoming to BRICS, but offering a better way for the others. Without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our other longtime friend, Dr. Nandan Unikrishnan, a distinguished fellow of the Observer Research Foundation, who's been with us for also, I can't remember how many years, but it's our very good friend, and he's very good specialist on Russia and the whole post-Soviet space, spent a lot of time, included during his childhood years here, but remains a very strict and orderly proponent of India's development in the world and India's interests, and thus is a very proper and viable example of how BRICS members are. They are very much pro their countries, very patriotic, but also pro development in general, pro world. Dr. Nandan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Thank you for those kind words. Let me at the outset thank Russia for this wonderful hospitality that has been displayed, and it'll be very difficult for others to match it. You're setting a very high standard. Let me start by firstly conveying my personal condolences to our Iranian friends. I'm glad they could make it, but these are difficult times, and at least all BRICS countries are with you, I'm sure, in these difficult days. It's normally the tradition that you thank all previous speakers for their excellent presentations and how they give you ideas and all that. I'm going to break with that tradition. I am not going to thank them because they have made my job thankless. They have said everything that I wanted to say, and I now have nothing to say. So this is not fair. But nevertheless, this is a completely un-BRICS-like act. But nevertheless, as a result, I will not be able to match the thoroughness of my Ethiopian friend, or match Sarah's passion. I will definitely not be able to speak like that. But nevertheless, let me give you some random thoughts of mine, since that is what I have been reduced to. I first got introduced to the notion of BRICS in this city in December 2008, when Mr. Nikonov, who is not here, convened a bunch of us, maybe about 12 to 15 people, in another hotel, where we for the first time discussed the possibility of BRICS experts getting together. We were not even talking about BRICS nations, but we were talking of an expert community. And I remember very clearly that the Brazilians and the Indians were very skeptical. That, the Brazilians particularly saying, we have to travel so far each time. It's very difficult. But we clearly, after that, in 2009, this is again before the academic forum came up, we convened in May 2009 a meeting in Delhi, where we again discussed all these matters. And by then already, and this is less than 6 months, it was clear that the mentality was changing. There was an interest in creating BRICS. And of course, today we are here, and we've clearly come a very, very long way. Our topic is about the new figures on the global chessboard. The global a chessboard, by definition, implies basically two sides. And although there are innumerable combinations, anyone who's got a reasonable amount of patience and talent, in theory, can ensure that he is well aware of the possibilities that can emerge, because the combinations are, by and large, lead to predictable outcomes. And in that sense, somebody could master this game. And as one leading chess player said somewhere in the 70s, in chess, no one wins, one person loses. What he was implying is that if you have reasonable understanding of chess and you play according to certain rules, it is only if your opponent makes a mistake that you can win. Otherwise, it will always be a draw. But I am talking about something else. I don't think that is the goal that BRICS strives for. I don't think BRICS wants to see anyone defeated. And I would agree completely with my Chinese friend that our goal ultimately has to be to develop a win-win situation, even for those countries that are not present in this room and may never be present in this room. But nevertheless, the Global South should work towards a world where we all win. And that is, of course, becoming increasingly difficult because, to be fair to all of us, we have never lived in a world which has not had a dominant power. And it is going to be very unusual for all of us to live in a world where somebody doesn't tell us what we must be doing. I mean, think of your own lives. From the day you're born, there's always somebody who tells you what you must do. And when you retire, your children are telling you what you must do. So all our lives, there is somebody who tells us what our next step should be. And here, for a change, suddenly somebody says, oh no, you decide for yourself what you want to do. It's a transition which I don't think many of us in this room are still prepared to make. But nevertheless, coming back to what is already a cliche about the turbulent times we are living in and unpredictability of the future, one thing is significantly clear, that while we all may think that we are individually exceptional nations and that all of us require exceptions in particular circumstance, in other words, that our national interest is supreme, what we have to also recognize is the past decade has shown us that today we've reached a world where no one power can enforce its power on the others. In fact, no two powers together can enforce their will on the world anymore. And so we are definitely headed, I honestly, personally don't know whether it's good or bad, but I'm assuming it's good. We are heading towards what is referred to as a multipolar world. But I don't think we are going to see a multipolar world where, all equal people sit at a table. You're going to see a very asymmetrical multipolar world. The powers that exist are going to decline far more slowly than people in this room are hoping. They're going to be around for much, much longer. They're not going to vanish in a decade or two. And so I think we need to be realistic in the kind of goals that we set for ourselves. And I would start by, honestly, again, speaking now probably as an Indian, that to create a more level playing field, I would genuinely look at the reform of primarily the United Nations, and of course its Security Council, which has to be expanded in a more inclusive and equitable manner. But I would also look at whatever reform is possible at various other international bodies. And here I'm saying this with the understanding that from an Indian perspective, what is happening in the world today is a change of the status quo that existed, undoubtedly. But we are not looking at breaking this world down. India is an evolutionary power. We've evolved over 5,000 years. We are not a revolutionary power. So we are not looking for a world revolution, however disappointing that may be. But we do feel that we, according to the laws of evolution, can reach a much better place in a much more peaceful manner. A much better place obviously would imply also a far more equitable distribution of wealth. And today, yes, our wealth is unequally distributed amongst the global states. But what is worse and what makes it more difficult for many of us to accept is the fact that some states have the power to unilaterally take measures that inflict hardship on weaker states. And I think we have to work at ways to insulate the world from the power of the stronger state to inflict hardship on the others. I have to admit that I'm now running out of random thoughts, but nevertheless, there is one more element that I would like to bring in. And this is something that I am deeply uncomfortable with. The tendency to talk about this great harmony and coexistence between civilizations. The problem with that is civilizations tend to believe that they are the only ones that should exist. And usually, growth of these civilizations has resulted in wars. There hasn't rarely been a peaceful coexistence of civilizations, whichever they may be. So I am slightly apprehensive about using the word civilizations, but I will use it in a slightly different context. I think all of us have to learn to tolerate each other. We have to learn to tolerate each other, not just because we believe in different religions. We have to learn to tolerate each other because we may have different skin colors, we may have different practices. I mean, the simple practice, let me give you one, which may or may not shock you. We in India, majority of Indians, still eat their food with their hands. But just because I don't use a knife or fork doesn't make me a barbarian. That is something everyone else must understand. So we do not eat it with our hands because we take dirty hands and put a lot of bacteria in ourselves, which actually may be a good idea, but nevertheless. But the fact of the matter is that that is a tradition that has developed in our country, in our geographical space. And it is something that does not necessarily reflect a backwardness of development. Now, that kind of tolerance, I think, is going to take a long, long time for all of us to develop. But I think if we consciously work on those grounds, we will get to where we are aiming at. And we in BRICS, I think, are aiming at least in words, we want an equal society. We want a society which does not discriminate against each other, where everyone is equal and their aspirations have an equal opportunity to reach whatever goals they set for themselves. I think my random thoughts on this are over. So once again, I would like to say that chess is a game in which one person loses, so BRICS has to ensure that it becomes an equal game where everyone wins. I wish Russia great success in its chairmanship, because the success of Russia will be the success of BRICS, including its new members, whom I welcome once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandan. And indeed, I think all of us have talked about BRICS being based on equality and very different from what we witnessed before. Because even when we talk about civilizations, however we understand this notion, different cultures, different modes of eating, different traditions, different religions, we are together accepting, not just tolerating, but enjoying each other's differences and enjoying learning about those differences and maybe incorporating some of them and without wanting somebody to be like us. We are very happy that we're different, and that makes us richer. That's what key about BRICS. Thank you so much once again. And now, last but not the least, and Mr. Alireza Galipur, Deputy Director General and Director for Asian Studies in the Institute for Political and International Studies in Iran. Once again, allow me to offer our deepest condolences. We share your sorrow, but we also extremely appreciate your coming here to the forum, and we believe that it also demonstrates that Iran and BRICS were strong, and we will be progressing and going ahead and going forward no matter what happens. We will overcome all difficulties, and we will come out stronger all together. Thank you once again, and please welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Is it on? Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Very glad to be among you. First of all, let me congratulate our Russian colleague for this success, very well organized program. Not only this forum, but I've been witnessing how serious they have been pursuing all the programs and meetings virtually or in person to reach to this point, and I have to congratulate you for this success, especially Dr. Panova and your colleagues. Then I have to thank all colleagues, friends, for your sincere condolences and sympathy you showed for the loss we tolerated during last few days, losing our president and our foreign minister. Especially for us, you know, as a part of the foreign ministry, it's very difficult to see the loss of our old friend and colleague, Dr. Amir Abdullahian. And in fact, it was a bit difficult for us to make it, but I'm happy that we finally could make it. And this shows how important BRICS is for Iran and how important it is for the whole member states. As Victoria rightly mentioned, it is always good to feel friends by your side, especially in these difficult times. Then I have to apologize all of you for being late. In fact, we directly came from the airport. We just arrived from the airport, spending a sleepless night, being among you, losing the concentration. These are all the issues we are facing right now, but it's the most important part for me is losing a pity to miss a big part of the opening and your presentations, our fellow colleagues here. Nandan referred that the previous speakers disarmed us, but it might have also a positive side that shows that we are all in the same page. We are thinking the same, and we are pursuing the same goals. So I also try to raise some points. Of course, some random thoughts of Nandan was among my random thoughts as well. But I try to raise some points, firstly, regarding the evolving world order. Nandan told that we should not use chessboard, but anyhow, I will go firstly to some characteristics of the new world order, evolving world order, and the opportunities we have in this situation, and then some elaboration about what BRICS can do and some proposals as well. So first of all, let's have a glance on the context that we are all acting in and some characteristics of the evolving world order. For some years now, the world has been under a transition period and a new world order is evolving. Upcoming world order seems to be a non-polar or post-polar rather than unipolar, bipolar, multipolar, or even a combination of them. In such an interdependent and interwoven world, zero-sum games do not work anymore. It means the more inclusivity brings, the more prosperity. Era of big permanent alliances has almost passed, and they are gradually being replaced by temporary ad hoc issue-based coalitions. It means strengthening minilateralism and minilateral formats like BRICS. Black or white or 0 or 1 dichotomies are not valid anymore. This is exactly what Nandan said in other words. And rational actors pursue their interests in different formats. It means the literature of with us or against us is not valid anymore. This sounds meaningless. It means that different actors are pursuing their interests through different formats and through different coalitions. Attempts for decoupling and fragmentation is the main characteristic of the global economy now. Cooperation, competition, and networking are simultaneously pursued by state and non-state actors, while exploiting vulnerabilities is a constant temptation by all. Traditional international structures are increasingly getting fluid, are not able to determine and impose the results of global processes. This is what we are witnessing these last few months in Gaza crisis and the catastrophes which is happening there. Traditional international structures, as I said, are getting increasingly fluid, and rapid rise of Asia and global East with new initiatives in pursuit of assuming greater role in world geopolitics and bigger share of global economy is another characteristic. These huge changes naturally have caused intensification of power competition among big powers, which has multi-layered, multifaceted implications on different issues and actors, and relegating other actors and other issues to the periphery. The characteristics which I mentioned, and of course was mentioned by some of our colleagues here as well, entail both opportunities and challenges. And I believe at this high time of power politics and in such a fractured and competitive world, with increasingly shifting geopolitics, now opportunities are preponderating challenges, at least for now. And this is a high time, at least for BRICS, to play its role. I believe that BRICS diplomacy, with its approach of building bridges of global cooperation, holds significant potential to achieve common goals and play a crucial role in global diplomacy. Despite facing challenges and obstacles such as different national interests, political differences, and complexity of global issues, BRICS has great opportunities to strengthen economic cooperation, enhance its role in global issues, influence the existing world order, and to build a more equitable and balanced foundation. To realize these potentials and opportunities, BRICS must continue to strengthen communication, coordination, and consultation among member states, member countries, building a deep understanding of each party's interests and priorities. And this is a very important part of these efforts by BRICS. I can emphasize again that it is very important to build a deep understanding of each party's interests and priorities, and finding common ground and compromises as essential steps in overcoming differences and reaching consensus. Additionally, BRICS needs to continuously promote closer economic cooperation, leverage the power of innovation and technology, and actively engage in global issues such as climate change, international security, poverty alleviation, and of course, disinformation campaign. Through these collective efforts, BRICS can build stronger and sustainable bridges for global cooperation. Through solid partnership and effective collaboration, BRICS can enhance its influence in global diplomacy and play a more significant role in shaping more balanced and equitable world order. By taking necessary steps, BRICS can become a force capable for addressing global challenges, driving sustainable economic growth, and creating a better future for its member states and the world at large. This means that BRICS is pursuing a more share in agenda setting in global affairs. Now, I will go to my concrete proposals in 4 parallel fields. First, we should deepen business and financial cooperation to boost economic growth. BRICS countries should be fellow companions on the journey of development and revitalization if they want to introduce an alternative model for development, and oppose decoupling and supply chains disruption, as well as economic coercion and economic sanctions. We need to expand political and security cooperation. This is the second point. We need to expand political and security cooperation to uphold peace and tranquility and keep to the direction of peaceful development, support each other on issues concerning our peaceful developments, such as other issues such as enhancing coordination in major international and regional affairs. We need to tender good offices on hotspot issues, pushing for political settlement of them. The third point is that we must increase people-to-people exchanges, promote mutual learning between civilizations, and advocate peaceful coexistence and harmony between member states and nations. We should promote respect of all countries' in independently choosing their modernizing paths in domestic level. 4, we should uphold fairness and justice and improve global governance. BRICS countries should practice true multilateralism, uphold the UN-centered international system, support and strengthen the multilateral trading systems and to the binding agreements in international level, and reject the attempt to create exclusive blocs. We need to push forward reform of the international financial and monetary system and increase the representation and voice of developing countries. With this, I come to my keywords as done by my fellow colleagues here, which is inclusivity, inclusivity, and inclusivity, and avoiding excluding-oriented approaches by the countries. As we witnessed even during the virtual meetings to prepare the recommendations, we sometimes were facing some issues which needed a little bit more flexibility and inclusiveness, which can be a key word for all of us to pursue this path towards the development and having the bigger share from in international order. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think we managed to set truly the scene and framework for further discussions of our, I'm quite sure, extremely intensive and production exchange of ideas over the next 3 days, today and the next 2 days. So I very much thank you all the speakers for offering the overview and thus outlining how we should go forward. And I do hope that there will be more meetings. As you know, we'll have the BTTC intensive discussions to finalize our document, and thus I'd like to support what Reza has just said, that we do need to think inclusively, and this has always been key to BRICS interaction, and I'm quite sure that with the new members, we are even to enhance it further, this principle of discussions, and I'm looking forward to our final document, but also to ensure that all the discussions that will happen during the academic forum, that they will also feed into their intellectual product that will come out as a result to help our leaders come to not proper decisions, but rather new ideas, to come to new projects and show an innovative way for all of us to go ahead. With that said, allow me to close their first plenary session and ask all the speakers to come out to the front of the scene for a family photo.